Hey everyone, First Order here. This is an old series that I am bringing back. I haven't done one in a while, and well, since there's not really any more Star Wars news coming out, I figured this is a great time for the series to return. And that is Canon versus Legends. Or take one certain character and analyze their difference between Legends and Canon, and then compare them at the end. Anyway, in this video, we'll be talking about Death Troopers. So let's get started. I'll first be talking about the Legends Death Troopers. Death Troopers were a nickname given to those infected with the Imperial Bioweapons Project I-71A, known as the Sickness. This was a viral agent created through the powers of Sith alchemy that attacked biological tissue and transferred its victims into an undead state. The disease was originally created by the Sith Lord Darth Draer sometime prior to 4645 BBY, and was intended to grant immortality to its crafter. Draer's initial experiments resulted in failure, and the Sith Lord himself fell victim to his creation. Over 1,000 years later, during the period of unrest following the Great Galactic War, the Sith Lord Darth Scabrous attempted to recreate Draer's disease in the hope that he would be able to succeed where his predecessor has failed. Likewise, he failed to create the path to immortality and in the process unleashed the virus upon students and staff of a Sith Academy. Before long, all the Sith acolytes and masters on the planet died, and were born anew as cannibalistic monsters, motivated only by the will to eat. The Sickness became a legend, until Darth Vader discovered the legend. Vader commissioned a scientific team from the Imperial Biological Weapons Division aboard an Imperial-class Star Destroyer to re-engineer the virus and turn it into a weapon that could be used to further Imperial interest. Operating in secrecy, the scientists were able to recreate the disease under the codename Blackwing and prepare it for deployment. However, in that year, an accident aboard the Vector Star Destroyer unleashed the Sickness once more, turning almost all of the personnel aboard the vessel into savages like the ones in the Sith Academy. The infected took control of the ship and used it to cripple the Imperial prison's barge, thereby forcing the barge occupants to enter Star Destroyer and become prey for the Sickness. Victims of the plague suffered numerous extreme painful side effects prior to death, and became mindless monsters post-mortem. The virus itself was fully self-aware and utilized the undead to spread the pathogen, and either transform or eat any who were able to avoid infection. Due to the extremely quick rate of transmission and the difficulty of isolation, successful treatment of the disease was very rare, although one could be prevented from contracting the virus by injecting an antivirus. Those who were already infected had little chance of survival. So that was the Legends Death Troopers. They were essentially zombies. So now let's look into the Canon Death Troopers. Now in Canon there are two types of Death Troopers. The ones that we know from Rogue One and an actual zombie-like Death Trooper. I do not know if that zombie trooper is 100% canon though, because it's in the mobile game Star Wars Commander. And I don't think that that game is 100% canon. If anything, it's like soft canon. Like, if they want to implement it into the future, then sure. But I don't really think, hey, this is 100% canon. But it might be. Anyway, let's get on to the ones in canon that are zombies. You'll recognize a lot of similarities. Project Blackwing, also known as the Sickness, was an infectious viral agent that was accidentally created by the Galactic Empire's Advanced Weapons Research while working on an experiment to revive neurotic tissue in a secret research facility located on Dandelion. This scientific research and Sith alchemy was initially designed to produce immortality. However, the virus killed its hosts instead, attacking their biological tissues and turning their lifeless bodies into cannibalistic, brutal zombies. I'd like to point out that this is the only time that they actually use the word zombies so far to describe who they are. The virus altered the body's stamina and strength, making its hosts move slower than they did prior to exposure, and increased their resilience to physical damage, allowing victims to take punishment which would be more critical or possibly even fatal to the beings of origin without falling. They also experienced to have a change in skin texture with human host, skin being altered to a grayish-green color. The virus communicated with itself and allowed the zombies to act as a single entity, and to learn things from the survivors, including how to use blasters and pilot starships. At some point between the Battle of Yavin and the Battle of Hoth, Imperial stormtroopers stationed at Dandelion research facility were infected by the virus, leading to their transformation into undead troopers. There was an outbreak at the facility and the Blackwing infected soldiers threatened to spread across the galaxy. it was presumed destroyed, but rumors began cropping up after that the surviving samples had been retrieved by criminal organizations, gangs, cartels, and extremists to trade for possible weaponization. This is what I think it's soft canon, because if it was captured by gangs, cartels, and extremists, then that would be a way to bring it into the future of Star Wars. Now let's look into the most recent Death Trooper, the Rogue One Death Trooper. Death Troopers were an elite variant of the Galactic Empire Stormtroopers. They served as protective detail and bodyguards for important Imperial officers and members of the Tarkin Initiative. They wore black suits of armor and specialized helmets that scrambled verbal communications in order for enemies to not understand what they are saying. Death Troopers were trained in unarmed combat, heavy weapons, and sniping. Specialized in commando missions, the troopers were experts at covering their tracks, leaving little evidence of their missions. A squad of Death Troopers served under Director Orson Krennic's command, wielded at his personal protection since at least 13 BBY, and were present for the Battle of Scarif at the beginning of the Galactic Civil War. Another squad of Death Troopers were part of Grand Admiral Thrawn's forces during his campaign against the early Rebel Alliance and participated in the Battle of Atollon. Death Troopers were known to wield SE-14R light repeating blasters, E-11Ds, long-range blaster rifles similar to the DLT-19 heavy blaster rifle, and C-29 fragmentation grenades. Death Troopers were named after a legendary advanced weapon research project to revive neurotic tissue, which resulted in the creation of uncontrollable undead troopers. This is why I think it's like soft canon, because they said in the canon version of Death Troopers that it was named after a legend of undead troopers. So this could be canon, or it could just be Imperial propaganda saying, oh, that didn't happen, meanwhile it actually did happen. Now, which one do I think is better? Personally, I really don't see zombies fitting inside the Star Wars universe. I mean, yes, it's a cool idea, but that's not really Star Wars to me. Like, I don't know. I just don't think zombies and Star Wars fit. So personally, I favor the Rogue One Death Trooper. Plus, they just look freaking cool, and they're kind of like the canon equivalent to Imperial Commandos. Anyway, which one do you think is cooler? Do you like the Legends Virus Death Troopers, the Canon Virus Death Troopers, which essentially are the same thing, just with a little bit less history, or with the Rogue One Advanced Death Troopers? Leave your thoughts down below. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like, blast a like, and all that good stuff, especially for longer videos like these. It would mean a ton. Anyway, if you are new, why don't you subscribe? For all things Star Wars, I do all things Star Wars, from Battlefront to movie news to everything. Anyway, this is the First Order, signing out.